good day. I get some of my ideas when I'm in the shower, and this idea was no different. I am going through a relatively difficult period in my life, and I get impulses to speak about this with other people. So when I get an impulse to do something or say something, there's a clear pattern for me where impulse gets to go through a firewall of sorts, of a conscious choice mechanism, so to speak. Whenever there's an impulse, or whenever there's a thought, or whenever there's an emotion that arises in me, there's a conscious layer surrounding it. And the conscious layer acts as a guard for whether it should be allowed to live through me and live as me, or is it best if I do not let that emotion raise up and consume me further than it already has, because the fact that there's an emotion is already an indicator that there's something inside of you which you are now being aware of. When there's any impulse, really, if there's a conscious layer of evaluation before there's a approval for whether this emotion or belief maybe is allowed to act itself out, this practice is the key component, I think, in my ability to maintain my self, really, because some of the emotional responses, or some of the emotions which arise in me and in us, in all of us, are not necessarily there to serve our best interests. Yes, some are, but not all of them are. I'm saying this because I wanted to say that I get an impulse to talk about this, talk about my experience, share my experience. And as this impulse faced a layer of conscious evaluator, the conscious evaluator found nothing wrong with it. Yes, there are ideas of what if they use this information to manipulate you? What if somebody tries to hurt you? What if you make yourself too vulnerable? But ultimately, I am speaking my truth, and the evaluator is only there to compare that emotion or the impulse which arises with the moral compass, so to speak, with the North Star of what I think is true. So if I am mistaken about thinking that something is true, then I will erroneously let the emotion or the impulse pass through me and live through me, and it will not serve my best interests. And this has happened many, many times. This is what learning is about. It's about learning what to let to live through you and as you, and what not to. So it's essentially choosing who you are in every moment, because who you are will want to self-express. You are this and you are that. You have attributes of many different forces, some of them evolutionary, some of them biological, some of them spiritual, maybe, some of them coming out of love and compassion, and some of them coming out of anger and jealousy and depression and all that. So with this out of the way, I want to emphasize the fact that growing and healing is the process of finding an explanation or finding a way to live with something or someone without feeling the hurt which this used to cause So, example, if I have a memory of someone which is hurtful, which is unpleasant, which is negative, then healing would be to find a spot for that memory inside of me, which would enable me to not become negative when I revisit this memory, which I will, because there are many memories which one may think he's forgotten. Like I, for example, always say that I don't remember anything that happened in my early childhood, but probably that's not the case. Probably I've suppressed some of them. So probably I'm like living the results of their active influence on me right now. So the process of growing, I would say the ultimate purpose of growing is to find one's own balance, which doesn't depend on other people. Where you're balanced for yourself, you don't need a counterbalance to be able to be balanced and walk straight. And this was the greatest lesson that I'm learning now, that when I entered a relationship with this person, I was imbalanced. I was imbalanced in one way. And the way I tried to fix that was to make myself imbalanced in another way, without actually ever becoming balanced myself, without ever actually becoming balanced on my own. And the lesson is that I think I am appreciating more and more, that I can only avoid future issues in all areas by first becoming balanced as the self, without needing external validation or external approval or external presence, really. So this growing happens not at the level of instincts and emotions and impulses, but rather on the level of conscious awareness. And then the layer which surrounds the biological and physiological, psychological, unconscious areas gets stronger, gets wiser. It is that layer which grows. It is that layer which adjusts and re-identifies its North Star, re-establishes its boundaries,